Moikka!
Hey!
Welcome to our podcast, Mastering Finland.
I'm Jean and I'm from California.
I'm Petra and I'm from the Czech Republic.
We're here to chat about our life in Finland. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the podcast. This is Jean, and I am here today with Haul. Hi, Haul.
Hi, Jean. Whoop, whoop.
Welcome to the podcast. I'm so glad we could finally have you on. So, welcome and thank you for coming on.
Thank you for inviting me to be on the podcast. It's been a while, right, since we last talked, and um, it's also taken us a while to finally do this, because from the beginning we've been like, when are we going to do this? And now we're
I
finally
know.
doing this, so
We're
this is
finally doing
cool.
it. It's finally happening. Yes. So, Howell and I, just to give a little background, we know each other from my first year of being in Finland. He was actually my tutor, and a tutor, whoever does not know who that is someone who helps new students like settle in, right? Would you say
Yeah.
into like yeah, the first couple of days they help kind of orient you around the city and um,
So
university.
so yeah. So basically, we're I wouldn't really say hired by the university, but we're put on a short term contract with the university, and we make a little amount of money, um, to help students settle in. Everything from picking them up at the train station or airport, depending what city you're in, to showing them around the city, and to showing them the ropes. I think in general. Um, and yeah, pretty much that's what we do, and we follow you guys, or like we don't follow you guys 'cause we're not stalkers, but
Creepers.
yeah, no, but we
No,
help
they
you
don't follow.
guys,
Yes, yes.
and we
And
show you
maybe
around for like maybe the first month. I'd say
hmm
especially the first 2 weeks, but the first month
yeah,
overall.
may I thought maybe we could kind of or I could share my experience being
Careful, Gene.
helped by you. uh
Whoa.
being helped by you. But but yeah, just like you said, the first 2 weeks of settling into Finland and what that looks like, and something like so that the new students now can know what to expect when they first come here, and hopefully they have a tutor. Um, is the tutor thing also something that's provided in other universities, or is it just a University of Uvascula thing?
Well, that's actually I don't know. I don't know. I would assume that this is something you have in any Finnish university, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Good question.
Well, yes. Well, if you are coming to the University of Uvascula, that is a thing, and you will have a tutor who will help you in the beginning. So, what happened with me and Howell is I was the first, right? The first student to come
Yep.
in your group.
Yep.
Yeah. So you guys are assigned to a certain number of students, correct?
Right. We're assigned about 5 to 7 different students. And they usually try to diversify, so that you have people from different backgrounds, but everyone coming in to study in the same program. So I think when you were my, as we called it, 2T, um, which is just such a funny word. I think we were, how many were you? There was you and Billy and Wendon and Kira and that dude who never showed up, and
Yeah. I I think yeah, that's about right. So maybe you had about 5.
yeah.
I feel like and
Oh, and
Zhuzha was
and and of course
also
Elise.
yeah, and Elise, yeah.
Yeah.
Um
So six. I
yeah,
had six.
so
Yeah.
okay, yeah. And also we actually got in touch even before I came to Finland, and um I let you know like which student housing I got, and you picked up the keys for me, right?
Right. So just a little bit of background, I feel, because I didn't really quite explain it yet. So tutors are usually second year students in the 2 year program, right? Because masters in Finland lasts for 2 years. Um, And when we're starting our second year, we have the opportunity to tutor new students who are coming in the first, in the new cohort. Um, we before the first year ends, we have some training with the university, and then throughout the summer, our job is to communicate with the people coming in, to see what kind of what kind of help they need, um, what we can do for them, and if they have any questions, then it's our responsibility to try to answer the questions, or if we don't know the answer, to direct them to the person who could answer the question properly. So it usually starts with a hello email, like, hello, like, my name is so and so, and this is what I'm going to be doing, and I'm your tutor, and do you have any questions, how can I help you? And people will usually contact you with questions about like, what's the best place to live, what's it like in the city. There'll be some more random questions. Like, I remember when I was coming in, I asked my tutor something about how easy it was to find lactose free food in Finland, because I'm
Oh,
lactose
really?
intolerant. And
Hmm.
yeah, that was one of my first questions. I was like, how hard is it to find lactose free food? Like, how much am I going to suffer? And as it turns out, I didn't at all, because little did
Yeah,
I know,
Finland is
Finns
the
cannot eat
exactly.
the most
Yeah,
lactose intolerant, I think, country in the world or something. So
possibly.
people just assume the whole time that you are lactose intolerant, and basically anytime you go anywhere and you eat anything or you drink anything that has milk in it, it's usually lactose free milk. uh,
Exactly.
so but anyway, so we do that, and then we usually will um grab the keys to the two T's place, and then pick them up either at the train station or at the airport if that's possible, and then show them to their place.
Yes, that is
Yeah, that's the first
exactly what
part.
happened.
Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah. And I feel like I got lucky because I came early, because I wanted like extra time to settle in. And luckily you were there also. So I got like a one-on-one service with
You
Howell, like
did.
lots of one-on-one time. And I feel like that's kind of when we also like formed a friendship and bonded. So I
True.
feel really lucky that I came early and like I came when I did and we like got to, yeah, spend time together in the beginning.
Like, I don't know how you feel about this, but I would personally suggest that any new student coming in considers coming in as early as possible.
Good
Not too
tip.
early. Like, you don't want to be honestly, you don't want to arrive in Finland in early August unless you're taking classes in August, because
Right.
it's pretty dull. It's pretty dead. Unless you're in Helsinki or Turku, like the other places are pretty dull, and you don't really know people yet, so it's there's not a lot to do. But if you can definitely come in, like, the last week of August, first week of September, like as early as you can, do that so you have time to settle in, because otherwise classes start and it's awful to like be sleeping on the floor for the first couple of weeks, knowing that you have a class the next day, or
Yeah,
um
it's kind of a
it's
rougher
not great,
start if you, yeah, don't
for
give
sure.
yourself time to settle in. Um, but yeah, Howell helped me a lot. Like he, on the first day, we went to the shop, the supermarket, and um or a store, I think it was Prisma, and I bought my mattress there. And like my room was not furnished, so I had to, kind of start from scratch. So I started out with the mattress, and then Howell also helped me with the phone to get a Finnish number and like the internet um and what else? Oh, you also were kind enough to make an appointment for me at the bank even before I came here. Remember at Nordia?
Did I? No, I didn't remember that. Did I
You
do that?
did, yeah, you did. And you told
Oh,
me, and you're like, just go to this bank at this time. Um, so yeah, that was really helpful because, I'm sure the banks probably maybe get busy at that time, or
they
I don't
do.
know, but
Yeah,
yeah.
my Maserati gets
So
busy and the banks get busy as well.
yeah. So tutors are awesome and they really do help you like settle in. It makes a difference. It always sucks to have to settle in on your own. I mean, it's already nerve-wracking as it is, but to have a
Right.
tutor there. was really, really nice.
Well, that's
So,
nice to hear.
s- yes. And then also, once I guess most of the other students came who were in your group, you took us around downtown, I believe, right? Like we started at the
Yeah.
university, you showed us the library and how things work there, how to print. Like you literally showed us everything. You were like super tutor. Is that
Well,
what you were asked to do?
I was asked to do that. It wasn't something that I was doing just,
Okay.
out of my own will, like, I just really want to do this. I really want to take them around the city. Like, I
Yeah.
did. Otherwise, I wouldn't. No, I did. Otherwise, I wouldn't have registered to be a tutor in the first place. Um,
Right,
I
yes.
I had a great tutor myself. Like when I first came in, I had this student who was in my program, Lisa. Hi, Lisa. I hope you're listening. Um, um, Lisa was great. We became friends as well. And then the second
Mhm.
year, I was kind of like, I want to make sure that, the next batch of students has a good experience like I did. But yeah, anyway, so the first part would be perhaps more one-on-one, where you're writing people individual emails and you're showing them around the city, and around just helping them settle like more individually. But then as soon as classes start, then you have a few responsibilities with a group of students that you're tutoring. So you usually take them to school the first day, or you volunteer to do so because some students don't want to do that. Like they don't want to be, walked to school, but really the university asks us to do
Holding
that.
hands. Yeah.
Holding hands. No, but that's usually quite common. And I don't remember if you walked with me, Jean, but I definitely remember walking with Billy, this other student. And what tutors will usually do as well to help students get to know each other, it's a great opportunity for people to start getting to know one another, um, is that 3 4 tutors will gather together, if they live close to one another, or if their students live close to one another, and then we'll walk together as a larger group of like say 20 students, and people are already like walking to university, getting to know one another, so when they get there it's like you already have that one friend that you're like, oh, please don't leave me alone.
That's true. That's true. Yes. It kind of breaks the ice.
For sure.
Yeah, yeah. And I also remember you had organized a gathering with other tutors and their tutees, and that's how I met Josh and Lauren, who were also tutors and they were your year, and met their tutees. So like,
That was for the city walk.
oh, okay, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. That was really nice too though, 'cause yeah, I guess any opportunity you can get to just, meet the people in your group, especially in the beginning, just really helps you feel at ease. Or that's how I felt anyway. So yeah, and then Howell also helped, yeah, like showed around the city center and where to go to register at Maestrate, like register with the city, and basically all the essentials, everything you need to do, the tutor helps you and guides you, points you in the right direction to do that. We had the orientation at the university,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
you guys would also come and kind of hang, would you? Or you would wait for us and then you would take us somewhere else.
Yeah, because the university plans out the entire, I think, first week for you guys. For you guys, we're not new students anymore. We've both graduated, but the university plans out the
Yeah.
first week for the new students, and we like the tutors are also included as a part of that, program. Like we kind of we have our own activities going on, um, and then usually we're one encouraged to spend time with the new students, to take them out to like lunch, but of course like each one paying their own lunch, their 260 meal, um,
You're right. Yeah.
and there's also specific moments like during orientation week where um, the new student schedule is going to say like meet your tutor two, and then there's a city walk, there's a university tour. There's this one afternoon, I think at the time it was an afternoon, this maybe 2 hours or 3 hours that we'd spend together to show how to borrow books from the library and how to use the computer network. And yeah, so the first week as well of classes, we also spend quite a lot of time together.
Yeah. That's the tutor life. And They're awesome. But
Aw,
so Hole,
they are though.
they are, yes. Hole,
I
let's
was.
let's what?
I was just joking. I was like, yeah, I was. I was amazing. I was
Well,
such
you
a good
were.
tutor.
You were. You were,
Thanks, Jean. No, but
truly.
I was joking. Like, but seriously, like, I also had a tutor, so I know how important it was. To
Yeah,
help me get
yeah.
settled. Like, I met so many of my friends through my tutor. Both people who were coming in with me and like second year students. Um, and those are people I still keep in touch with now. Like, what, 4 years later? Um,
Yeah.
so
Yeah, they play an important role, and
for
I'm
sure.
glad they have that. Yeah. Um, so let's learn a little bit more about you, Hole. Um, how how did you end up in Finland, and when did you come to Finland?
So I came to Finland in late August 2016, and it was never something that I had really like planned too much in advance. It wasn't something of a dream of mine. It was never like I was like, "Oh, Finland, I really want to go and live there." Like I've always dreamt of living in Finland. That's not what it was. But I honestly don't think that's what it is for most people anyway, because it's not like, Finland's not the States or the UK or Australia or Canada where you're always like, I really want to live like, or not always, but there's so many people who have always dreamt of living in, for example, New York, right? Uh, um,
Right, right.
I guess if you like the big city, Finland's not one of these places that you're like, I've always dreamt of living in Finland.
Maybe not
Um,
typically. Yes.
Maybe not typically. Of course, you will have the odd one out. Not to say that they're odd, but
Right.
but
The
you
special
the
ones.
special ones. I'd say generally you have like three profiles of people coming into Finland or four. You'll usually have the half Finn who's trying to like reconnect with their own family history. In our cohorts, like both mine and yours, we had half Finns.
True.
Um, and this is pretty common. So you have like an American or a Polish person or whatever, a German who's half Finn and's coming into Finland to live the Finnish experience. Then you'll have the person who is getting married to a Finn. Um,
True. That is
and
true.
we also had those people both in your cohort and mine. Like, why are you here?
Yes.
I'm here because I'm marrying a Finn.
Right.
That's pretty common. Then pretty common. It sounds like there's a bunch of Finns going around like marry me. Um,
Yeah.
but anyway, then the third group would perhaps be the group of the odd ones out who are like, I've always loved this one aspect of Finnish culture or language. Like I've always been interested in the Finnish language, or I really love metal, like heavy metal, or something really random, like or I study the native populations of Finland, who live in Inari or Rovaniemi.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I don't know if I had anyone like this in my cohort specifically for my program, but definitely students coming in the same year as I did in other programs. There were a few of those. And then we have the last group, which is I think where I come in and where you come in, Gene, which is, hey, here's good free education that I just happened to stumble across online. Why not go to this place?
Yes, that
Seriously, that's
that
what
and
it is to most people.
agree. That I would say, and a little bit of the I heard about the Finnish education system, and I wanted to see what it was all about myself.
I agree, but that's really
I think that
specific
was
to our situation because we studied education, but our university had how many programs? Like 15 or 20 international programs, and most of them were not in education.
yeah, yeah. But I guess I'm saying like if people find a specific program that they are interested in or like that Finland is known for,
Yeah.
I guess kind of like your second category or I don't remember, maybe the third
I
one,
know
but
like environmental
um
business, sorry, environmental
true,
business,
yeah.
environmental studies, Jesus, I can even like environmental studies and education are both big things in Finland. So people will come in for those programs specifically, like I want to study education in Finland. But I don't really quite see what the appeal is of studying like international banking and finance in Finland as opposed to anywhere else. So,
Exactly.
I mean, they do have one of the safest. What is it? I think it's one of the safest, most reliable banking systems in the world. But still,
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
yeah, the Finland's. why are we still surprised? Like everything we talk about, like there's a ranking, Finland's number one.
But the irony is that they don't do rankings, which they totally do though. Like they're
Yeah,
not about the competitiveness and but
but they
they
love
still
to
do
shove it on
rank.
your face that like Finland's the number one country, like it's the happiest country, best education in the world, best banking system, um, most free, most freedom of press, and like any press system in the world. There and
They do
I
enjoy
mean,
it.
fair enough. They do enjoy it, and they should
They do.
because I mean, seriously, you're doing something right. Um,
Right.
but yes, so my situation specifically was that I wasn't planning to even study. Like, I wasn't planning to pursue a master's. I wanted to, but it wasn't anything that I had, you know, visualized in the horizon for the next, years at the time. Like, I didn't think I would be applying to a program when I decided to apply it, like, not for the following year. Um,
Hmm.
and I was working in a bilingual school, and talking to one of my coworkers about this approach to education called CLIL, which is an acronym for Content Language Integrated Learning. Um, this coworker said, "Well, since you seem so passionate about this approach, and since you're so interested in it, why don't you write to some, major scholar in the field to ask for guidance and orientation and maybe pursue studies?" And I was like, you know what, that sounds like a great idea. Maybe I can start connecting with, one of them to someday in the future apply to a program and study abroad. And
And this
so
is you were working in Brazil at the time.
I was working in Brazil at the time.
Okay.
And yeah, I was working in a bilingual school here. And what happened then was that I decided to write to this very big name in clinical education, who's David Marsh.
Hmm.
And I wrote him an email, and it was, just one of those things that you write people an email, but you don't expect them to answer.
Right.
I just kind of, it was something I was doing, kind of just like, like at least I tried. And he replied to my email, and rather quickly, I'd say, like it didn't even take him that long to do so. And what he, I remember it was a really, interesting, funny answer because I wrote him an email and I was like, hey, so I've been reading about this approach and I know that you're, a decorated scholar and I would really like to work with you on, studying this approach and would it be possible, like, where are you based right now at the moment? At going through his information online, it wasn't clear where he was at the time. So I was like, where are you based right now? And would it be possible for me to study with you? And then his reply comes in and it's like, hi, thank you so much for contacting me. I'm currently based in Finland and no, you cannot study with me. But
He actually said that?
he did. I don't remember, he wasn't as straightforward as I'm being right now, but he did say like, I don't
Okay.
teach anymore, which is the
Okay.
case. He
Okay.
doesn't teach anymore. It wasn't
Right.
something of, like, I don't want to have you here, get out of my face. It wasn't
Right.
that. It was just
Yeah.
like, I'm not working as a teacher at the moment.
Got
Um,
it.
and so it's not possible, it's not feasible. But, and then he directed me to the university. He said, the university has all these amazing people who work with the approach. Um, and maybe you should check out these programs. And then he sent me links to the two education programs we had at the time, educational sciences and educational leadership. And
At the University of
at the
Uvascula.
University of Uvascula, which is also where he's based. He works for the University of Uvascula, but he doesn't work as a professor anymore. He is the director of EduCluster, which is an education export company, which is a major, I'd say, business in Finland as well as education exports, since Finland's known for its
True.
education.
Hmm.
These companies, they craft solutions to schools around the world and to education systems around the world who come to them, looking for Finnish expertise.
Right.
Um, so anyway, so I looked at the program and I was like, "Ooh, this seems so interesting. How much does it cost?" And at the time, it was free. So I was like, "Ooh, free education in Finland, which is a country of reference in education." Um, and also, the University of Jyväskylä is actually where the term CLIL was first coined and where the studies, I'd say, on the approach perhaps started. So I was
Hmm.
like, it only makes sense that I go to this university. So I think when I contacted him, it was probably, I'd say, August or September 2015. And then applications were closing in December, maybe,
Yeah,
or early
sounds
Jan.
about right. Yeah.
Yeah, and then I remember that it was a bit of, a race. I was rushing to get everything, documentation, that you need to
Mailed.
get to apply. Because you had to send the PDFs and you had to mail some things, if I'm not mistaken, to the university.
You do. Yeah.
Um, Not to the university, but there's the centralized system of applications to any university in Finland, and you
Mm-hmm.
don't send it directly to the university. You send it to this. Is it a company or just a consortium, like something?
Yeah, institution? I don't know,
This
but yeah,
institution.
they
Yeah.
deal with mhm. They deal
So I
with the paperwork.
Yeah. So I did. I applied by December. So I contacted him August, September. And by December I had already applied, and then I went through the entire application process between, December and March maybe, and by late April I had heard from the university that I'd got in, and
Yay.
then it was just, planning to move, and then it was a pretty busy time, like between August 2015, running to get everything done so that I could apply, to actually
Yeah.
applying, to then moving to a different country. Like the whole year, like August to August, was pretty busy.
Yeah, sounds like it. So then you started out with your interest in CLIL, and I know that kind of carried over to your studies. Is that correct? Like, did you
Yeah,
do some projects and work related to CLIL during your time in studying in Finland?
right. So as soon as I arrived in Finland, I was in Finland. Honestly, I wasn't in Finland for the Finnish educational system. I was in Finland for CLIL. I was like, what can I do here that's somehow related to CLIL? So the university at the time as well, like in our program, there was a CLIL course, right, which was a 6 credit course, and I was, of
Yeah.
course, like, yep, I have to take this one, and it was the very first course that I registered to take. I was like, CLIL, I want to be the first ones. I want to make sure that I get a spot in the course, and so I did that. And then I also remember, as soon as I arrived to Finland, I sent David again another email, and I was like, hi, maybe you don't remember me because it's been a while, but I wrote you an email last year asking about if it was possible to study with you, and you said um, that I could come study at the University of Jyväskylä, and here I am. Can I please come talk to you? And
Mhm.
he scheduled a time to talk to me. And I remember I went and I was so excited. And when I got there, he opened the
Yeah.
door to his office, and what he said to me was, "You're actually here." That's his hello. He said, "You're actually here." And I'm like, "Yep, I came."
It's it's like you guys are both waiting for that day
It
when
was
you'd
it was
see each
interesting.
other.
It definitely felt
Yeah.
this way. It felt like one of those. It felt right. It just felt right, and it felt like something I needed to do. And yeah. So it was very exciting for sure. Um,
Yeah.
for me, it was
He's
like,
like the god of CLIL. He created CLIL, the
well,
the idea and the concept,
yeah,
right?
he's a very, very big name. So,
Yes.
um, he's definitely, like, whenever you talk about Khalil, if anyone who's listening happens to know about the approach to education in an additional language that we call Khalil, if people know about this, they know who David Marsh is.
Yeah.
So anyway, so it was very exciting, and then after this, it was just maybe um, I spent perhaps the first term trying to get involved in his business. So I'd be emailing him. I was very insistent, mind you. Like everything that I got in Finland, I got out of insisting.
Mhm.
Because that's how it is in Finland if you're not a Finn. I'm sorry. You
True.
really have to try really hard, and you really have to be
Yeah.
all up in their business and all up on their face. Like, just
You
seriously.
do. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
it's not enough, at least in my experience, and maybe I don't want to, generalize this too much, but for me, it never felt like it was enough for me to just send an email in or just send my resume and expect that people would reply. Actually, people in Finland, I'm really sorry. This is maybe a stereotype, and I shouldn't be generalizing this, but I will. People in Finland are horrible at replying to emails. Period.
Mm.
Like,
Okay.
unless your email It's cultural.
Mhm,
Unless your email,
mhm.
unless you state that you expect a response, or they feel like they have
Oh,
to,
yeah.
then like
You
they will
know,
reply. Otherwise, they won't.
that's a good point because when I was looking for my apartment recently, because I moved to Helsinki, um, I was writing to, like real estate agents or whoever you're supposed to
Hmm. Hmm.
contact,
They don't reply.
and they don't reply
No.
unless well, what I noticed is unless I tell them, hey, because I was living in Lahti at the time, unless I tell them like, hey, I'm coming to Helsinki tomorrow to check out this apartment, and I wanted to check out your apartment too. Can I come? And that's when they would respond, no kidding, like within an hour and be like, oh, sorry, it's already taken. So I was like, okay, so I need to give them like this sense of urgency. If there's no sense of urgency, they will not respond, it seems.
Well, and even the
Um,
whole sense of urgency thing, like this is something that I would always say when I was there, that Finns have no sense of urgency. And this is, a conclusion that I came to just because everything in Finland is so thought out and well thought out and planned well in advance that there is really not a lot of reason for people to be rushing or, you know,
that's
for
true.
people to
Rushing
have a
is,
sense of urgency. So
yeah, rushing is definitely not part of their like culture
no,
even.
things are
Like,
planned, and like if you need anything like that, maybe you didn't plan properly, and it's like, oh no, I need this document for today, and you go and try to get it, it's going to be really difficult to get it because even if people maybe have the time to do it, they're going to be like, this is not my priority right now because I have something else planned out.
right,
And of
right.
course, you will find people who, of course, are really flexible. But
Hmm.
mostly people go by the book and like say, I need this document for tomorrow. And they're like, ooh, you should have applied a week ago because it takes like 5 days for the document to be processed. And I'm like, yeah, but can you just do it like for tomorrow, like as an exception? They'll be like, oh, sorry, we have procedures. So, but that's how
Well,
it is.
yeah, yeah. I kind of had both. Like, I remember contacting the international office because I needed to get some papers in for Migri,
Yeah,
to like
yeah.
extend the permit. And they were like pretty quick about it.
Yeah, the
Like
international
sending me
office is
the
an exception. I'm
document.
sorry.
Okay, so
At
they
least for me,
know
that's my experience
they
because they're dealing with internationals.
okay,
They know who we like, what we're
that's
like.
true. Okay, you're right. Yeah, they know their audience. And they
They
know the
know their audience.
situation that they're in also.
And mind you, also
So
at the
that makes
University of
sense.
Jyväskylä, one of the people who was most in contact with international students was actually someone who worked for the university and was not a Finn.
But anyways, yes, the email replying and no sense of urgency. But yes, continue. So you wrote an email.
So I have this problem where I start talking about other things and I'm like, what was I talking about?
That's okay. It's a stream of consciousness
It is.
style we're going for.
Uh,
Just keep up with us, listeners. Just,
yep.
hang
So
in there.
anyway, people will not usually reply to emails unless you ask them to.
Mhm.
So everything in Finland that that's what I was saying, like everything that I got or
Yes.
everything that I, you know, conquered perhaps, like it took
Yes.
a bit of insisting. Like you have to send them an email and then you have to send them a second email and you have to write that like you expect a response. And then you have to try maybe, like to go and meet them in person. The first job interview that I had, it was actually interesting because this person wrote to me and like they wrote a reply to maybe like my fifth email and they were like, hey, listen, we don't have a position open, but come so we interview you. And then I went like, and I was
Oh,
like, that's
wow.
weird because if you don't have a position open, why are you going to interview me? Like, what are you interviewing me for? But anyway,
Right.
I went, and when I got there, the person was really straightforward. They just told me, so as I told you previously, like in my previous email, we don't have a position open, but you insisted so much that we get to know you that like I want to talk to you and see who you are, and like I want to get to know you. And
Nice.
then I went for this interview, and it was a lovely time. It was a lovely lady. We had a great conversation. In the end, they, of course, like at the end of the meeting, she said, once again, I don't have a position open, so can't do anything for you. But it was really great to meet you, and it's great to know that you're here. If anything ever, if we ever have a need for a professional with your expertise and your profile, we'll definitely get in touch with you. And they never did. But I mean, I
Ye-
got the interview, or I got them to
Getting
see
the
the interview.
interview Yeah, getting the interview already is a huge achievement in,
Yeah,
for a foreigner in Finland, because then they
yeah,
get to actually know you in person and not you're not just a piece of paper.
absolutely. And that's the thing. There was this study conducted in Finland about how much more likely they are like to call you in for an interview if you have a Finnish name, as opposed to
Mm,
um, a foreigner name. Um,
yeah.
a foreign name. Jesus, what's happening? A foreign name.
Yeah.
So some people
Yeah.
could call
Yeah,
this
the fact
racist.
that yeah.
I would rather not talk about this too much. But let's say that Finland prefers their people, and
I mean yeah.
yeah,
The fact that they even had to do this research just shows that there, is an issue in this area. And I think in
absolutely.
an article that I read, maybe in like the last few months, they were considering not even showing the name of the applicant at all, so that the employers can just look at the skills and, you know,
Yeah, but
the
I remember, Jane,
qualifications.
when I had maybe like four interviews in the whole time that I was there. And the second place that I, interviewed for, I remember after the interview, I asked them if their selection process was a blind one, and then first thing they didn't really understand my question. They were like, "Huh?" And then I
Hmm.
explained, like, here's what a blind selection process is like. And they were like, oh, yeah,
Hmm.
no, it's not. And my next question was, why is it not? And they were like, well, because it doesn't really make sense to us because we can just kind of tell anyway by your skills and qualification, like, who you are. And to me, that just, yeah, doesn't make much sense. The whole point of a blind application process and a blind selection process is that people cannot tell who you are. And if you keep it,
Exactly.
straight to these are the skills and qualifications, it is really difficult for
Yeah.
people to identify you because ultimately it's not even about like which school you went to or, but just generally like, oh, this person has a degree in education, this person has a degree in education. So it doesn't really,
Hmm.
matter um, if this degree in education was something that you got from Harvard or from JYU or from a university in Madagascar, you know. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
but anyway, so it's definitely a process to get a job in your field in Finland. It's a lot easier to get jobs in, for example, cleaning or delivery services or what else? Like, I think the people we knew, Gene, thinking about the people we knew who had jobs, I'd say most of them were
Yeah.
in the food industry, like the restaurant business, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
Many people working in restaurants, especially in the
Yep.
kitchen.
Right, where you
And many
don't
people in
necessarily have to speak Finnish.
exactly. Of course, the Finnish language, like you have to learn Finnish if you really want to get a job in Finland. It's just one of those things that you have to do. Um,
Mhm.
Even though everyone speaks great English and or not everyone, but like it's rare that you come across someone who does not speak English at all or who doesn't
Yeah.
understand
Yeah.
English
Totally.
at all.
Def.
You can get by with English for sure for social things and for getting basic things done like going grocery shopping or sorting something out of the bank. That's fine. But if you really want to make Finland home, you have to learn Finnish. And
Yeah.
there's definitely a lot of it's life's a lot harder if you don't speak Finnish. So or if you don't have a
Yeah.
Finnish name or if you don't look Finnish. So yeah,
Definitely has its challenges, unfortunately.
yeah,
And hopefully with all of these, I don't know, as the world just becomes more diverse, it's just inevitable people, learn to become more open
yeah. And Finland is
and
becoming more
yeah.
diverse, right? Finland is
It
becoming more
is. It
diverse.
really is. Yeah. Yeah. And I hope, that they become more accepting and um yeah, but I guess this is like in any other country, that is maybe wasn't as diverse, but they are experiencing that now and
Yeah.
it's yeah, But
they're opening up, right,
so
to
they are opening up.
foreigners. Yeah, but
Yes,
sorry,
yeah.
just one thing. So in the end, I also want to stress something, which is that when you're studying at the university, this is definitely a bubble. And it's
True,
one thing to
100%.
experience Finnish education studying at a university and to experience Finnish society like outside of university. It's two very different
100%.
experiences. Um,
Yes.
and everything I'm saying here, about how sometimes closed people might be, is not really something that you see at the university at all.
No, no.
Universities are really, really open, I think, to people of different backgrounds and to diversity. And not surprisingly, in the end, I got a job working for the university. So I didn't get a job, as a school teacher or in a business, an education business outside of the university. I ended up getting a job working for the university. So I think this also, speaks um, volumes about,
Volumes.
yeah,
Hmm.
about the university.
Yeah. And tell us about your time teaching at the university. What were you teaching?
So right after I tutored, actually, and actually because I tutored, Jean, that's an interesting story. Did you know how I got the job?
No.
I had sent a number of emails to the university, to the specific, they're not a department, but anyway, to the specific unit that
Okay.
I wanted to work in and work for. And
Hmm.
they never replied to my emails. And then when we had the fair for new students, you maybe remember that. Do you remember the fair they have where you can like meet all the clubs and get to know
Oh
all the
yeah,
activities
yeah.
the
And
university offers?
yes, like get some stickers and flyers and all that.
Exactly. I
Yeah.
love that that's what you remember. Uh,
I
um,
like me some stickers.
no, they're great. And pins and stickers and free stuff. We love it. But
Yeah.
um, I remember one of the stalls was for this unit, and they had their advertised Portuguese lessons. And then I was like, oh, they have Portuguese lessons here. This is so interesting. And me being Brazilian, I was like, I wonder, you know, who this person who
So,
teaches this course is and
hmm.
what these courses are about. Is it like Portuguese as a foreign language or is it Portuguese language studies? Like, what is it? So I went there
Mm-hmm.
and then I said, hey, I see here that, you have these Portuguese courses. And they were like, oh, as a matter of fact, we don't have them at the moment because we used to have a Portuguese teacher, but they're no longer with us. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. And they were like, yeah, and it's been surprisingly hard to find a Portuguese language teacher in Uvascula. And I was like, well,
In
so
comes Hole.
in comes
Yeah.
me. So I was like, I've sent you, a couple of emails, and I have my resume if you want to see it. And I don't remember if I had my resume like right there and then, but it was one of those things that I was just like, I can go grab my resume right now. And then they were like, oh, so you teach Portuguese? And I was like, yep, I teach Portuguese and English. And they were like, great. So then they called me in for an interview like pretty quickly. This was during orientation,
Wow.
and then it was really funny because I didn't know, but I was speaking to my boss. Like this person at the stall was not a teacher who was working as a teacher. They were the person this person was going to be my boss. Uh, and I was already talking to the person who was going to interview me. So
Okay.
yeah, so I gave him my resume again, and then they called me in for an interview, and then say within like a week or two, I was hired, and then I started working at the university, initially teaching Portuguese. My first term, I taught Portuguese, and it was Portuguese as a foreign language, so I would teach students of basically like any background coming from any faculty. Um, but
Were they
then
mostly Finnish students?
I would say they were mostly Finnish students, yes. Um,
Interesting.
and they also had very interesting stories and backgrounds. Some who had been or who wanted to go on exchange either to Portugal or Brazil, mostly. Some
Okay.
who were getting married to either a Portuguese or Brazilian person. A few language enthusiasts who were like, I speak, like 7 languages, 8 languages, and I'm learning Portuguese now, which was pretty
Hmm.
cool. And some people who were just
Hmm.
looking for extra credits. Um, so we had a bit of everything. In the Portuguese classes, we would always have foreigners because it was the only language course offered not in Finnish. It's
Hmm.
very common in Finland that language education happens in students' native language or the national language. one of the national
Right.
languages. Um, so, for example, you go to German class, you go to French class, and it's partly taught in the target language, but partly taught in Finnish. And so international students would come in and they wouldn't have an option to take a course unless they already spoke Finnish or they were willing to also think of, like, oh, I'm taking a German course and this is a fantastic opportunity to both learn German and Finnish. But most
Hmm.
people are
Hmm.
just frightened by the idea, like, do I really want to learn German and Finnish, or do I really want to learn Arabic and Finnish? Like, no.
Hmm.
Um,
Right.
so so then they would come take Portuguese because it was the only language that was offered in English. So it was taught in Portuguese and in English.
Okay.
So I would have always like international students and exchange students and some staff
I
as well,
see.
international staff. But
Okay.
then, yeah,
Interesting.
in the second term,
S-
then I became also a teacher of English. Um,
Oh,
we
that's
wouldn't really,
right.
yeah,
For like writing to like prep them for like what was
yeah.
it, like thesis writing or
I taught
um
academic writing,
academic?
yeah,
Yeah,
and academic communication
that's
skills.
right.
Yeah, like how to present,
Yeah.
how to write a paper, how to read an article, how to, yeah.
So would you say you just like if someone was interested in working at the university like you did as you are also studying, correct? You're
Yep,
doing both.
yep. I started in my second year.
Um, okay, second year. So would you say, um, I mean, I probably know the answer. It's not easy to to get a job there, but um, what tips would you give someone who is interested in perhaps doing what you did?
I would say, Jean, first of all, there's so much going on at the university, and there are so many opportunities. I'm not the only person we know who somehow got involved in some sort of work with the university. There are many people in both my cohort and yours who were hired as research assistants or who were hired for specific projects.
That's
I'd
true.
say find something that you're really interested in. Find the person in charge and go directly
Hmm.
to them and just say, I want to get involved. At the university, sometimes it can be just as easy as that. Um,
Yeah,
like, I really want to get involved. Is it possible? And you'll be surprised. Like, many people will just be, oh yeah, we have this money sitting here and we need a research assistant. Would you be interested? Or we know we have these funds, or we've been looking for this. Like for Portuguese, they were like, we've been looking for someone, but we can't find them. And I'm like, me, but if I hadn't gone to them like in person and said, here I am, maybe they wouldn't have
right.
even seen me. So,
Seeing you. Yeah.
so yeah, I would say just
Be
go to
proactive.
be proactive and go talk to people. That's perhaps the most
Yeah.
effective thing. I don't think people in Finland necessarily love that you go to them and talk to them. I think they would much rather get an email. But
I was about to say, yeah.
yeah, because I mean, nowadays, even just making a phone call, like who likes making a phone call? We text everyone. Nobody likes to talk to people on the phone.
Exactly.
And if
Exactly.
we have the option not to see, like seriously, and if we have the option,
Yeah.
like, oh, I don't have to go there, I can just send an email. It's much easier. I think that's what we tend to do. But as a
Right.
foreigner in Finland, if you really want to get a job, I would say go talk to people,
Yeah,
go show your
showing up in
face.
person. Exactly. Them
Yep,
seeing you in person is key. Yeah, makes a difference. Okay, so then you were teaching and studying at the same time. I mean, I you had a lot going on, especially your
I
second year.
did, and third,
And
and fourth,
yeah,
because it took me
yeah,
four
no
years to
kidding.
graduate, y'all.
That is, that is also true. But that's also because I mean, the reason you had that opportunity to, um, take your time because you needed it, because, you were doing all this work, is because you actually came the year before they changed the laws for international students.
Yes,
So, but so the group that Hao came in, or that year, that was the last group of international students that could study that could take 5 years to complete their degrees,
four
correct?
years.
Oh, 4 years, sorry.
I mean,
So,
you could have taken 4 years as well, but the difference is, I think you guys were already on a scholarship, right? It wasn't free; you were on a scholarship. So then, if you decided to take longer than 2 years, then you would have to start paying
oh, that's true. Yes, yes, that's true. So you guys were able to stay up to 4 years without having to pay
without
the
having to pay.
tuition.
a dime. Like
Yes.
yeah, it was great.
Yeah. And then with my year, that's when they changed the laws and they only gave scholarships for 2 years. So for the full master's degree
Yeah.
program. And then if you took longer, then you would have to pay yourself. So like, yeah, I was scrambling to finish my thesis and everything.
You finished before me. I
Which
remember, like, we were writing together, and then at one point I was like, "Nope, I can't do this right now," and you were like, "But I have to."
yeah, I know. I was like, but I have to because I don't want to pay and you know. So yeah, tell us about that second year, particularly like the thesis writing experience.
Oh,
Like
Jesus,
how I know it's like a it's
it's still too
hard.
recent.
Too soon, too soon.
I'm kidding.
But honestly, it has a really good ending. So
I
I feel
know,
like you should proudly share that story because you did have quite the time with it. But also like keep in mind you were working
I
and
know,
you
and
know, like
Tindering. I was busy.
and and Tindering, which we will get to later, so stay tuned. Um, but yes, you were busy. So how was that for you, the whole thesis writing experience? Just yeah, give us a little insight on what that was like for you.
So when I came in, like, to Finland, I had a very clear idea of what I wanted to study and what I wanted to do for my master's thesis. And I remember I went to this, I knew who my advisor, like, who I wanted my advisor to be. And I was very much like, like, I only want this person. And I came to this person who, Josephine, she was both my advisor and yours. And I presented my idea and
Yes.
she was like, wow, this is great. I'm so excited to see what you're going to do with it. And it was one of those things that, I just had in my mind. I was so decided on what I was going to do that she was kind of like, wow, you really seem to know what you want to do. This is fantastic. Go ahead and do it. And then turns out I wasn't able to. So my idea,
Well,
like,
you
womp
did it.
womp. No, yeah.
Oh, right. Yes. Yeah. Okay. Yes.
Yeah, my idea was that I would do research in Brazil while in Finland, and that proved surprisingly challenging, especially because I wanted to do research on private education, and I wanted to go into private schools to collect data. And
Hmm.
that was a bit of a challenge because usually private schools are more, at least in Brazil, like close to the idea of people coming in to see what they're doing.
Right.
Um, so well, I guess I was naive to not, think that it would be challenging. And then at one point, I remember my advisor would be like, "So, this is not working. Can we just change ideas?" And I'd be like, "Nope, I want to try again. Nope, I want to insist." And then basically, I'd say because the first year you don't really do much for the thesis. The second year is the year that you're supposed to be, really focused on doing everything for the thesis. I
Yeah.
spent the whole second year just basically like contacting people and trying to collect data.
I remember that. Yeah.
And while everyone else was, like, while all my, classmates were finishing their studies, here I was, contacting people like, hey, can I come and collect data? And people were like, you still haven't collected data? And I'm like, nope, still trying. Um, so that took a while. But
Yeah.
then ultimately, I just, in my third year, I was like, yeah, so I still have all these things to do and I still have my thesis to write. Maybe I should start considering changing my topic. And then
Mm.
my supervisor was like, really? Um, I've been saying this. So I changed completely and I still wanted to do some research that was somehow socially relevant to the context that I was in. Not as in Finland, but as in the context that I'm from, right? Brazil. So I
Hmm.
decided
Hmm.
to do research in Mexico, in public schools in Mexico. And that was a lot easier to do. Um, so I ended up collecting data and then I started my, process of analyzing data and writing.
You
And that
collected
also,
data in Brazil when you were in Brazil or
no,
remotely in Finland?
I collected data remotely from Finland, but in Mexico.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah. So I collected data from Mexican schools while in Finland, and um yeah, then I'd say like the third year and the first half of the fourth year, which is when I finished my thesis, were pretty busy because I was full on like always either working or writing. And then I
Yeah.
submit my thesis, I think, in when was it?
Last year, right?
Last year, but September maybe. Like
Yeah, 20
I don't even
e-
remember when, but yeah,
sometime in
sometime in the
2019.
fall, maybe
Yeah.
like even October. October, yeah, I submitted in October 2019. So
Mhm, mhm.
it actually took me like 3 years for the whole thesis, not even four, because I got to Finland August 2016. I submit my thesis October 2019.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So
Hey, you
a little
weren't
over three
too
years.
like too late in the schedule. Yeah, it was just an extra year. Which hey, if they allowed it back then, I
Why not?
honestly might have done the same. Yeah. It's just that I had a time crunch and that's what kind of like motivated and drove me to like, finish it up. But I feel like if I had the option of taking my time, I probably would have done it. But, you know,
Yeah, in my
um
situation, it was one of those things like I wasn't in a hurry because at the time I was thinking that I wanted to settle in Finland. Um,
yeah.
and I was working, so I also had that going on. And I
Right.
had multiple contracts. I had the contract with the university, but I also had another contract um, working for a company in education export. So um, I was always like, you remember that I was always like traveling.
Yes, you were always traveling.
Yeah. So
Like at one point, just had to hang out like in the laundry room,
yeah,
or maybe that was another thing. But like, I feel like I had to catch you in between,
trips
like
or
your
work
trips,
hours
and
or yeah.
yeah, yeah, you really did have a packed schedule
It'd be like Raul's doing laundry. What a great opportunity to hang out with him, or like
to go
Raul's
catch
eating
up.
lunch. Let's go catch up. Like, because it was never like, oh, we have this free time. Let's get together. And
Exactly. It was desperate
it
times,
was always
indeed.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, you finished it nevertheless, and you did so successfully.
Well, thank you.
Um, so yeah, it's still, has a good ending to that.
Yeah, and here I am,
Okay.
Master of Arts. Yay!
Yay, we're so smart.
Yeah, a lot of hair, that I've lost, and I look exhausted. I feel like in these 4 years that I spent in Finland, I aged like
You
some
aged.
40 years. But now I have a
Oh,
degree.
that's
Mm-mm.
yay, totally worth it.
I know.
But yeah, no, but it really does take so much out of you. I remember I was before writing the whole like starting the whole thesis process. I was like, I'll consider going for my PhD. Once my thesis started, I was like, no,
Can't do
never.
that.
Like, I don't want to do this again. Like, I don't know what I was thinking. I obviously did not know what I was talking about, but it really like it shapes you as a person. Like
It
you
really
go,
does.
I don't know, maybe I'm
You
over
get a much
dramatizing
rounder
it, but
shape, for sure.
yes, yeah, it totally,
I
is
put on
not
a
a
lot of
simple
weight, Gene. Do
task.
you remember? Like, I was already
I mean,
chubbed, and then I got like,
but I feel like I did too because I was eating like frozen pizzas. I remember one day like looking at my pile of trash, like the cardboard recycling thing, and it was like packed with frozen
frozen
pizza
pizzas.
boxes.
Yeah, no, for me as well. It was frozen
Yes.
pizzas and those like Marabou, like not cookies, but what were they? I don't remember. But these
Oh,
chocolate
I think I
thingies
know
that I
what you're
really
talking
liked.
about.
They were amazing.
Oh, those were so good. Yes, I know what you're talking about.
So it'd
But
be like that was what my, you know,
that was the thesis diet.
yeah, that was my diet. That was my thesis diet for sure. And then whenever I wanted something healthier, I'd go to the
Same.
university restaurant and pay my 260 to get a little bit of salad and be like, I cleansed. Okay, time to go back to
That's
chocolate.
good for the next month. Yeah. No, totally. So sad, but I mean, that was the life. All right. Well, thank you so much, Howell, for sharing your experience in Finland and yeah, just giving us more insight into what it's like studying here, but also working and finding opportunities for yourself. So thank you so much for coming on.
Oh, thanks, Gene. I'm so happy that we finally did this. Um, it's really
I
just
know.
I'm beyond happy actually that we finally got to do
Oh,
this. So thanks for having me.
yes, thank you so much. And thank you to our listeners for tuning in, and we will see you next week. Bye.